The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. Glory to you, O Lord. Jesus said to his disciples, "Beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but underneath are ravenous wolves. By their fruits you will know them. Do people pick grapes from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? Just so every good tree bears good fruit, and a rotten tree bears bad fruit. A good tree cannot bear bad fruit, nor can a rotten tree bear good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit will be cut down and thrown into the fire. So by their fruits you will know them." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Yeah, big words of challenge here as Jesus is drawing the Sermon on the Mount to a close. And, I think there's a real necessity of course there is, right? Jesus knows what he's doing. But there's a real necessity in what Jesus is offering here at the end of the Sermon on the Mount, because he has set the course for his people. Jesus has set the course for his people. And so then he doesn't want to leave the people on the way vulnerable to being kind of pulled off course, right? Dragged off course. So he's giving some sense of, I don't know, how we are to test and approve the counsel, the instruction of would-be prophets. And I don't know that here, I think it's not as though Jesus is setting up his people to say, hey, look, I'm going to send prophets and you're going to have to discern and figure out what's good and what's not. It's not that way. But what he's saying is the danger is real. The danger of, say, false prophecy is real. The danger of, say, being distracted from God's way, that's real. And I don't know. I think we get that to some extent. I think we understand that to some extent. If we don't, I'd like you to understand it to some extent. It's somewhat recently. I don't know if this is going to upset anyone, but there are a certain number of things that I have to say in this kind of false prophecy realm. One is that I've labeled recently some of the competitive voices in the Catholic arena as something like an online magisterium. Okay, yeah, there's an online magisterium. Now, you may not have personally encountered that, but if you spend any time on YouTube, then you probably have. And if you spend any time on some of the, can I say quote-unquote Catholic sites, because I actually don't know that any of them are, but that any quote-unquote news sites, because none of them are news sites, and I don't know that any of them are Catholic. So if you consume that kind of stuff, if you consume Catholic content at all, then it finds you, right? This content finds you, and there's a large part of Is it a large part? It's a large part of that particular market segment that appeals to, we have to be super Catholic, or I have to be invulnerably Catholic. I don't know if you've seen this stuff. It's just guys kind of cranking it up, like I don't know if I'd say the moral code. I think the morality of the church is fairly clear, although it always seems to be, they're a step ahead. So if their badge was anything, it might be like more Catholic than the Pope. Now, I know, but as I say that, I know that many of you are thinking, I don't know, maybe I am more Catholic than the Pope. I mean, it's like, you go, and you say, oh, maybe this Pope, maybe I'm more Catholic than him. There's not the attempt to understand the Pope on his terms. We're trying to make him fit according to our terms. And if look, I'm just dipping my toe in the water here. If this agitates you, you've got a problem. If my dipping the toe in the water on the Pope and people who are more Catholic than the Pope, if that agitates you or upsets you, you've got a problem, right? For one reason at least, I'm your pastor. But this is the danger of false prophecy, right? Is that your pastor is not allowed to speak to you about any number of things because you're worked up by other people. Like someone else has you riled up. So you can't hear your pastor, and we can't hear our Pope. We don't let him say what he wants to say because we put a lens on him immediately. Well, where does he fit according to where my political sensibilities? Where does he fit according to my religious sensibilities? Can't let the guy speak, right? So these are all issues of false prophecy. I talk about the online magisterium because there's no more ready example of by your fruit you know them. I mean, if you tune in at all to listen to some of these guys pontificate, shall I say, about any number of things, then it's all anger. It's all anger and fury and detraction and whatever and scandal and whatever. And it's why? Because that sells. That's what sells. That's you're gonna click. What are you gonna click on? You shouldn't click on that, okay? Because you're driving the industry, but that's the reality. What are you going to click on? What gets more views? This piece about scandal and this piece about this guy's really angry about something? Or are you going to listen to someone give a good exploration on, say, the spiritual exercises or the rules of discernment for St. Ignatius Loyola? No, it's I want the scandal. I want the scandal. It's okay, and we think that the more we consume it somehow, the more we're in the right, and the more somehow that's going to resolve the world's problems. It's this is not going to happen. This is not going to happen. So, anyway, I haven't brought out the scourge. I haven't brought out the scourge yet. I don't want to do it. But what I want to say is, good fruit, bad fruit. Good fruit, bad fruit. And what Jesus has done in the Sermon on the Mount is he's started to draw the line. He's started to, I don't know, sketch the path, but maybe even blaze the trail of self-gift, blazing the trail of love, blazing the trail of for the otherness, right? This is what he's doing. He's giving us some sense of what drives him, what motivates him. And so as he says that, and then here in our context, he gives us his own life to share in. We know what the shape of that life should be because he's told us. He's not just told us, he's lived it. And that's what it should look like. Our lives need to look like Jesus' life because we're his body. We're his body. We eat his flesh and drink his blood. Now this is another. I was asked by a reporter. I was sent an email by a reporter yesterday to comment on Eucharistic coherence, and some of you will know what that is. The bishops are discussing in their assembly Eucharistic coherence. I don't think I'm going to respond to that email, but it's dangerous. It's very dangerous. But the reality, the only thought I've had in response to that is, we who receive communion need to look like Jesus. I'm not sure what else needs to be said. I know that it's caught up in politics, and I prefer to not really talk about that. But anyone who's receiving communion, their life ought to look like Jesus's, or it ought to be conforming more and more to Jesus's. There's not much more to say about that. Why? Because the challenge is for each and every one of us. The challenge is not simply for Joe Biden, right? And if we were living our lives in accordance with that great gift, I'm not sure it would matter who was in the White House. So that's our challenge, right? I don't want to say anything about Eucharistic coherence, but what is the good fruit that we are bearing? If we're receiving all these gifts from the hand of God himself, what is the good fruit that we're bearing? And then, like I said, keep your eyes on Jesus. Anyone who teaches in line with him, okay. Anyone who leads in line with him, okay. Anyone who doesn't, leave off to the side, or some, just don't bother. Do you know what I mean? Because it's not, and you can tell who's doing it by the fruit. Okay, fruit of the Spirit, right? Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, gentleness, generosity, faithfulness, self-control. Love, joy, peace, patience, right? Where we have to bring that fruit forward, but anyone at all who would suggest that they are going to lead us on the way of Christ Jesus, they have to embody it themselves. If they don't, be very careful engaging with them at all, because we're looking at false prophets, right? Be very, very careful engaging with them at all. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, gentleness, generosity, faithfulness, self-control. I mean, that's fruit that is ripe for the feeding of the world. And that's what we're called to do. We can follow people because they're following Jesus. They have the Spirit in them. They're following the Spirit's lead. They're bearing the fruit of the Spirit. Right? We can hear them. Maybe they're gonna help us on that journey. They're gonna help us through on the narrow way. Right? But we too have to bear that fruit. Lest we give voice to false prophecy ourselves. We have to, because we're preaching with our lives and we're doing it all the time. We don't want to be false prophets ourselves. We want to give people the good news of the coming kingdom of Jesus Christ. And we do it by trusting and following him, no matter where he leads, and also how he leads on the way of self-gift, and want to bear that fruit for the nourishment of whomever God entrusts to our care.